Hey there, this is the One Boom, and today we're talking about Season 3 of Modern Warfare 2, or as I like to call it, the unofficial starting period of the last 4 COD games. Yes, Vanguard, Cold War, Modern Warfare 2019, and now Modern Warfare 2 are sort of suffering the curse of Season 3 is when the game starts to get really good, and of course this game continues that cycle, with Season 3 being the best content drop we've had so far. For this video to be shorter though, and not take up your entire afternoon, I cannot read all of the patch notes to you. Also, if you're interested in the patch notes, I recommend reading the patch notes. I'm going to try to remember to either put them in the comment section or the description. If I forget, just look up Season 3 patch notes. You know how to use a computer or a phone if you hear. So either way, we're talking about Season 3's content, focusing on multiplayer first. I have a video about Ground War and Gunfight. I have a video about the Black Cell Season Pass or Battle Pass. I also have a video coming out about the weapons. I'm going to be reviewing the Imperium and the Squall in their own separate videos later on. So I have a lot of videos about Season 3 coming, so bear with me. I'm just going to focus on what changed, because unlike previous seasons where it's just like some new content to talk about, we have a bunch of multiplayer changes. Now, there were some nice things like the ISO Hemlock can no longer 3-shot to the lower torso, so they properly nerfed the Hemlock. The RAL in semi-auto is now stronger, but again, I'm not reading patch notes. I will summarize something though. What they essentially did is take all of the movement penalties, or a lot of the movement penalties from heavier attachments like longer barrels and heavier stocks, and reduce them. So they reduced the penalties on using a longer barrel or a heavier stock, and that's obviously very good. One of the biggest issues in this game is the attachments you want to use have more cons than pros sometimes, but not so much anymore. In fact, I already noticed with the new Cronen Squall battle rifle, running it with the longest barrel, the heaviest barrel you can use, I was noticing that the gun was really snappy, and I thought that just must be this new gun. But then I went back to old guns, because I was mostly using the Squall to level it up when the season came out, but I started using the TAC and the M4, and oh my god, they're just so much better. And the velocity and range penalties for using shorter barrels have been reduced as well, so making your gun faster is easier and making your gun slower is harder, essentially. Definitely play around with more attachments now, because it's not so damning to use a heavy stock on a gun. It now is less slow, but still better at improving aiming stability or aim walking steadiness, but again, isn't quite as slow. The game feels a lot snappier because of this. I think shotguns also have less hip spread now when walking and just walking, so you just have less hip spread while moving. And then they made it so that you're able to shoot faster after ledge hanging, sliding, because the slide is now just faster, and dolphin diving. So essentially the game just became a lot snappier and more responsive. Are these massive sweeping changes? Now the game runs at a completely different pace? No, but does it feel better to play across the board? In my opinion, I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. I could not put my finger on exactly what had changed during my first live stream of Season 3, but then as I started playing, I realized, oh, that's right, everything's essentially lighter and snappier now. Even using the 60-round magazine on some guns is just not so damning anymore. They just have less cons on them now. This is kind of what we saw with the grenade launcher from Season 2 Reloaded, where the grenade launchers were lighter, they affected your gun less negatively, they had an extra grenade, and they also helped with recoil stabilization. It's that kind of stuff. More reasons to use more things is always good in a game like this, and I'm really happy. It is a net benefit to the game. On top of attachment benefits and movement speed benefits, we also are blessed with a flashbang nerf. Flashbangs will now affect you considerably less, almost I think half the time, and if you're using battle hardened, you essentially just full stop it. It just kind of blurs your screen for a second and you go back to normal. So flashbangs are no longer dominating the game. It feels like a million years ago how big that meta was, because now when I play, I think I've gotten flashbanged 4 times, and that goes to show that that nerf was absolutely necessary to stop the community from treating every gunfight like an excuse to toss a flashbang. Then, the really big thing is that suppressors no longer deactivate your ghost perk. In case you didn't know, when you were using the ghost perk and a suppressor and firing your suppressed gun, if the enemy had a UAV up, they could still see you. It would still have you on the minimap. It was disabling your ghost perk every time you fired, so very counterintuitive there, but now that no longer happens. Firing a suppressed weapon no longer disables your ghost perk, according to Exclusive Ace. Hopefully he's not wrong about this, because I am very excited about this change. One of the reasons you've been getting pre-aimed and pre-fired in Modern Warfare 2 is that even when you were running a suppressor and Ghost, a UAV was still able to see you. Now if you run Tracker, Cold-Blooded, and Ghost and a suppressor, and of course all of those are active, and then you have the Dead Silence field upgrade activated, you are invisible to everything but the naked eye, so go ahead and have fun racking up some kill streaks. That change alone would have got me to play the game more, but of course, we didn't just get gameplay changes and tweaks. Again, I recommend reading the patch notes for more detailed stuff, but we also got 2 new maps, Black Gold and Paleo's Lighthouse. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Unfortunately, the Lighthouse map, we all found out, wasn't a remake of a state from Modern Warfare 2, but it does have a building that's heavily inspired by it. It's not the exact same, don't hope for that. Unfortunately, it's very different in a lot of ways, but the basic layout and some of the vibes are the same, but it is a very different building. It's kind of like a mix between the cabin in the woods from the map Fog and Call of Duty Ghosts and Estate. It's like a mix of those 2 cabins. But this is a cool map. It's dark, it's rainy, it's new looking, it's new feeling. The lighthouse provides a really cool ominous glow in the sky, and swimming in the crazy rapid waters around the rocks is pretty honestly great. Like, it's a very cool feeling map with a lot of flank routes, and now we have 2 6v6 maps that actually feature water, unless you count the swimming pool in Himmelmat Expo, which you don't, so we're good. Thank goodness for this map, because I was hoping it would be new and unique, and it is. It's sort of a round map on a hill where you can jump off the hill into the water and swim around to the other side, so flanking is actually very easy, and now that suppressors and Ghost are working properly, have fun flanking people and shooting them in their spawn, because this map is all about that. It's also all about King of the Hill. It is a big map, it is complicated, and people are still learning it, so the pacing's a little weird on it. I'm still learning it. I think it'd play really good in 10v10, but only time will tell. The next map is a doozy. We have Black Gold, an NVG map. This gives us access to night vision goggles similar to Modern Warfare 2019, and is the only NVG map in the game, and that, my god, deserves its own video. But the map in and of itself is good. The layout is very clean, the sightlines are very predictable. It feels like a very classic Call of Duty map, but with the NVG filter over it. I love this. I want a whole playlist of maps like this, first of all, but I really love this. Instead of being able to turn on lights with light switches like you could in Modern Warfare 2019, buildings have automated sensor lights. So certain corridors and doorways and stuff have sensor lights that will click on when somebody walks in front of them. So you could literally take your goggles off, watch a corridor, and when the light turns on in the room, you know somebody's entering it and you can take them out. Very, very cool. I hope we get an NVG playlist with a bunch of the launch maps and some of the remastered maps, and this map, of course, in NVG style with like realism or tier 1 mode. I would love a playlist like that. This is very, very fun. I don't know why people are so upset about it. It is sort of the anti-camper playstyle in realism, because you can see where people are aiming because of their lasers, and of course, your aim down sight speed is essentially just sped up by, using the laser instead of your normal iron sights, depending on your setup. It's really easy to go on flanks. I like it. I have had so many fun games on this map already. It's very unique, and this is where I really wanted to gush about this season. Between all of these new gameplay changes and the fixes, like the 6 months to fix the Ghost Perk and suppressor integration, ridiculous. I mean, Vanguard had party issues that were really damning for about 6 months. Cold War took 6 months to put flinch on snipers. It's, very frustrating stuff. But now that suppressors and Ghosts are working, and now that the gameplay has changed drastically and flashbangs are less annoying, and your guns are just snappier and you are a little bit snappier in your movements, then they add these 2 maps that are just really unique compared to the rest of the stuff in the game. It feels like a DLC. It feels like very, very fresh content. Then you add on the new weapons and the new trophy event, which I will also be making a video on, where you kill an enemy and they drop a little trophy token, and then you can take those tokens and at the end of the game, cash them in, and then you can go into the events tab and purchase things with your tokens. I think that is a really fun, novel event idea, and I'm excited to take part in it more and more throughout the season. Okay, maybe now I don't have to make a video on it. I still will though, because I have another idea about it, but all of this is making the game feel very, very fresh to me. Modern Warfare 2 has had a lot of problems since launch, just like every Call of Duty has, but I think the biggest problem is that we don't really feel like we're being listened to. But nothing in the patch notes, nothing in Season 3 is against my interest. Obviously, I wish we had more night vision maps, and I really wanted a dark, rainy version of Estate, or at least an actual identical copy of the building from Estate, but other than that, I'm pretty happy. pretty happy is the best word for it, because I am very disappointed in how they're handling the Ground War Invasion battle maps, and the fact that Gunfight is here kind of irks me, and I'm gonna get into that in a later video. But for the version of COD that I play, 6v6, weapon leveling and camo grinding and just trying to win games and get kill streaks, the game is just better now. The game is just better. And the one thing we have to note is that if this is a 2-year COD in the sense that the next Call of Duty is going to tie in directly with this multiplayer, changes 6 months down the line might seem really bad unless we have a second year of this game and they're building the foundation for the next game. So we're essentially, in some ways, and this is going to really piss you guys off because you spent money on this, but in some ways it's almost like we're beta testing the next Call of Duty games multiplayer if the next Call of Duty games multiplayer is built in Modern Warfare 2. It's essentially a big expansion to it. It's built upon it. So hopefully the changes we're seeing here are going to positively affect us there, but only time will tell. I have a lot of things to rant and complain about, but nothing here. I like this season. I enjoy it as a multiplayer fan. Everything else will be talked about later, including DMZ and the controversy surrounding that right now. And until then, I'll see you when I see you guys. Goodbye.